Well, I mean, the thing is this. I mean, I just came from Washington, D.C., where President Trump had an embarrassing defeat on the healthcare reform or the Trump Care bill. And I think increasingly in Washington, D.C., the sense I had was people are beginning to see him as the emperor who apparently is naked, who doesn't have clothes, you know. I mean, the guy talked very tough. There was a lot of promise that he's a winner, he's the art of a deal president, and yet you see defeat after defeat after defeat for the Trump administration. 2 defeats on the so-called Muslim travel ban, and then now a defeat on the healthcare issue, on other major issues that the Republican Party is tremendously divided. So on one hand, you have a Trump administration which is losing credibility very fast, which is struggling with low trust rating. And then the other thing is, of course, with Rex Tillerson, I think, you know, he's having a dilemma right now because I think he was expecting that his job will bring him a lot of influence in terms of shaping American policy in Asia. We know that Rex Tillerson has a history of standing up to China, for instance, by investing in Vietnamese waters in the South China Sea, despite vehement opposition by China when he was the executive, of course, of ExxonMobil. But now the problem is that the budget of the State Department is slated to be cut by 37%. He cannot put his undersecretaries there. So I think he feels very disempowered, and when you feel disempowered, I think it doesn't make sense for you to play hawkish and give a lot of promises. That is why Rex Tillerson, in fact, doesn't even bring too many media people with him. I talked to some very senior diplomats who had a chance to meet Rex Tillerson, and they were telling me that they get a sense sometimes with him that he really doesn't like his job, that sometimes he says it was his wife who convinced him. So I think this White House and Rex Tillerson tensions and the sense of disempowerment may explain somehow why he's taking a very different tone compared to what he was implying during his confirmation hearing and the earlier days in his office. And then the other aspect is tension between the White House and the Pentagon. So as we discussed the other week before I went to the United States, the expectation is that the Pentagon will ramp up its presence in the South China Sea in order to push back against China's assertiveness. Particularly the concern right now is on Scarborough Shoal. I talked to our allies in Australia, Japan, and the US. The consensus that it's just a matter of time before China reclaims the Scarborough Shoal and incorporates it into a strategic triangle together with the Spratlys and Paracel chain of islands. Now, the problem here is that the Pentagon wants to ramp up its presence, to send bigger ships close to the Chinese reclamation activities, to constrain and dissuade China from further expanding its military footprint in the area. But some folks in the White House, I'm not sure whether it's Kushner, the son-in-law of Trump, but some folks in the White House are not yet making a decision. Because if you want to make those critical decisions that could really spark war and escalation, you have to have the clearance of the president himself. So the Pentagon, despite wanting to ramp up its presence in the area and push back against the Chinese, they're still waiting for Trump to give the green light. But some people in the White House who are not clear about their identity are not yet signing off on this. So even the defense aspect of Trump administration policies is now also in a state of limbo.
Well,
so
you
we
can
see it very much as
probably argue
superpower